I would say I started my career journey quite early because I was in college at 17, and I remember we had a group of boys from Afghanistan join college, and I remember feeling really shocked by how they were treated by other people in college and really compelled to do something to help, even though I didn't really know what that was at the time. So I started helping them to learn English. I then got on a journey to working with people who come to the UK claiming asylum from different countries around the world. I became a kind of youth worker, advocate, working with them for most of my early career. And I learned so much about why people flee their countries, why they come to the UK, the struggles they go through in the UK, all forms of kind of different immigration status here and how that impacts your experience in the country. And I became really passionate about helping people who experience inequality in different ways, both here and internationally, because of the history of global politics, I guess. My studies, interests, passion was always kind of like global issues. And I also was learning languages. So eventually I ended up moving to the Middle East and working there for quite a substantial period of time. I was privileged to work for an international organisation where I was based in their regional office in the Middle East. And I did a lot of work with them around equality, diversity and inclusion type topics. We had programs in Iraq, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, working with people who've been displaced by conflict from parts of that region, but also the rest of the world. And we primarily focused on education, but had like social work related projects, mental health related projects. We worked with people with disabilities, and did a lot around child protection and gender-based violence. So that was a really kind of instructive period in my life as well, understanding how people experienced inequality in different ways and the kind of legal regimes that govern different countries when it comes to these kind of issues. When I came back to the UK, I also worked for a domestic violence charity here. So I worked with survivors, particularly those who are homeless or facing issues related to their housing because of domestic abuse. And again, had that frontline experience of supporting people in moments of crisis in their lives and helping them to understand and navigate quite complex procedures and try and access services and support in the UK. I also have experience working in the civil service in the UK in policy work related to young people. So I've kind of been working on the development of a national youth strategy for young people and also managing large national projects of funding for young people and projects and services supporting activities for young people in the UK. Culture transformation, I describe it as kind of like the holistic wraparound support that we provide to the organisations that we work with, because we're not just about a reporting platform, and Culture Shift in general, but particularly my team, are there to make sure that we help organisations not just to implement a reporting system, but to meaningfully change culture in their organisation and also tackle the more systemic issues that kind of allow harmful behaviour to happen or to persist. So within my team, we have our training academy, where we provide training courses both for our partners implementing report and support, but also any organisation that's interested in working with us. And we focus on our kind of areas of speciality. So all of the training courses are there to complement and support organisations to implement a speak up culture. So we have training courses around how to encourage people in your organisation to speak up, how to handle disclosures when they're made to you from a colleague, how to handle reports when they're made to the organisation, how to assess risk, etc. And we also have a package of training really specialised, looking at prevention of sexual harassment, particularly around the Employment Rights Act. So yeah, our community, we really focus on peer peer-to-peer learning and fostering and facilitating the community that's really led by our partners. So we have a variety of speakers from our partners, but also we bring in external specialists in different areas, and we focus on the issues that really matter to our partners, the challenges they're facing in dealing with bullying, harassment, discrimination. And yeah, we have a regular calendar of online and in-person events. We have our annual conference, which is our biggest event, where we bring together hundreds of practitioners working in this area and specialists from legal sector, variety of different businesses, from higher education, and we ask them to talk about the biggest challenges that are facing our partners. My team also manages our benchmarking work, so we are able to analyse some of the anonymous data we get from our platform to look at trends when it comes to reporting. So we're able to share with our partners what's happening outside of their organisation. So nationally, what trends are we seeing in terms of how many people are reporting things to their organisation, whether those reports are being made anonymously or with contact details, what type of incident they're reporting, what times in the year they report things, etc. So we're able to kind of share those insights to really help institutions benchmark where they're at compared to others of a similar size. And we look at impact and support our partners on their journey to culture change. So we have a maturity model that draws on what we know about the different stages organizations can be at in terms of changing culture, and we support organizations with regular analysis of the stage they're at, as well as recommendations of how to improve. But ultimately, at the core of everything my team does is really trying to bridge the gap between the individual who might be thinking about or actually making a report of some description to an organisation, and our partners who are supporting them, and ourselves who are delivering our platform and other services for partners. So just really making sure that we look at barriers to reporting and making everything as easy as possible for people to speak up. So I think there's been a lot of shifts in terms of how EDI initiatives are seen and the value attributed to them, and kind of like sensitivity around that. And this is partly through political shifts, narratives around EDI spending and initiatives, changes of government, etc. And also the court of public opinion and kind of polarizing narratives around inclusion and the woke police and etc. So for example, I worked in the civil service during this period and the change of government, and saw the impact of some of this in terms of internal initiatives we were pursuing related to EDI or bullying, harassment, discrimination and culture more broadly. And I think, at the same time, more broadly and like globally, and usually the result of tragic incidents that spark outrage, there's been, I would say, more of a shift towards acknowledgement or encouragement that if you've experienced harm, you should speak up and you should be heard and you should be listened to. But again, public opinion and politics can kind of be mixed on that. So in terms of how much we value and listen to people that do speak up about harmful behaviour versus how much we shut them down, we disbelieve them, we accuse them of ulterior motives. So I'd say they're two big kind of like shifting global and domestic landscape shifts that I've seen. But more recently, and again related to domestic politics, we've seen the introduction of an increasing number of protections and rights related to this topic, particularly around the Employment Rights Act, the prevention of sexual harassment, and a number of like sector-specific regulations. So I think that is really positive. But as always, I guess the concern would be that shift shifts back to what we've seen in the past, and hopefully we can just keep moving towards a world of like protection of rights, encouragement of speaking up, and belief in people who do. So yeah, I think hopefully we're moving to a world which says more and more to people that have experienced harmful behaviour that you don't have to put up with it just because you want to keep your job or you want to pursue your studies. It's not okay for people in power to act badly or to harm people just because they bring in profit for the company or they're really well respected in their field. I think that's hopefully a growing cultural attitude shift, and I hope that continues. Our report found that HR leaders perceive that people feel safe to speak up at much higher levels than the people themselves reported feeling safe to speak up. And I think there could be a myriad of reasons, obviously, for that. HR, for example, might have more insight into the type of cases they've handled previously and how they would deal with a report if it came in, what kind of protections people might be entitled to. All of these things that for an individual thinking about speaking up might be question marks that make them worried about doing so. And if there's not transparency in processes and clear information for people about those kind of things, that might make them not feel safe to speak up. And that could be potentially because HR or the organisation is kind of protecting the identity of people involved in previous cases or the inside, information as to what's happened. But it could mean there's just a lack of transparency and a lack of trust over processes. It could also be that HR, themselves believe that those processes do protect people, but the actual staff have seen a different reality or perceive a different reality. Because of experiences with colleagues or cases and what they've heard from others in the organisation or seen themselves. And ultimately, psychological safety and trust is really personal. So it's hard, I think, for one person to say that another should feel safe and will feel safe. But I think we often see a perception that HR work in the interest of the company, and also a sense amongst staff of kind of the inevitability that whatever happens, if they speak up, there will be detriment to them. We do promote that organisations should have various ways for people to speak up, including informal routes, including anonymous routes, but sometimes policies or processes around those kind of routes are even less clear than formal ones. So an organisation might have a policy that explains what will happen if they make a formal grievance and how to do it and all the steps. But when it comes to speaking up before that or informally, it's less clear. And I think where there's less clarity, there could be room for different perceptions of what might happen, but also in applying, processes or without that clarity in the policies and the processes, there's kind of room for mistakes or differences in approach. So I think all of those things can lead to a perception or a feeling amongst staff that they are not safe to speak up, and that perception gap with HR. I think another important factor here is that HR or a company can have the best processes in the world, best people in the world dealing with these things. But if you're an individual that's experienced harmful behaviour, you're facing potentially emotional stress. There's a lot of emotional toil involved in speaking up. There's fear, there's, thinking about what's happened, there's repeating what's happened to you. There's lots more involved in that situation. So even if, the best systems are there to help people feel safe to speak up, how somebody actually feels when something bad has happened to them in terms of safety to speak up is a very different matter. A reactive culture, i.e. waiting and hoping that a problem won't occur, and then reacting to it if it does is more costly than taking proactive preventative steps. I think, as well as some really obvious kind of overt costs, for example, if issues do arise, if a report's made, if it becomes a kind of formal complaint and you have to deal with that, there's costs in terms of HR or staff time investigating that, speaking to people, potentially getting to the point where you need to involve lawyers, potentially threats of going to an employment tribunal, potentially agreeing a settlement, potentially going to a tribunal, massive delays in terms of how long you're going to be waiting for that case to be heard, masses of stress on everybody involved, given that it got to that point, and loads of cost spent on resourcing, legal fees, potentially settlement amounts, as well as all of that time being focused elsewhere rather than on the kind of core work that your organization does. It's very risky. So obviously you want to avoid getting to that point in the first place. But I think there's still lots of other hidden costs around bullying, harassment, discrimination, and kind of misconduct happening and bubbling away under the surface all the time. For example, if there are people in your organization that are experiencing this, but not speaking up, or finding that when they speak up, nothing's being done about it, well, either they're going to avoid coming to work because they don't feel safe to, or it's making them feel unwell to be in this office where this is going on, or they'll force themselves to come to work because they don't want to lose their job, but they're not performing to their ability, they're not able to focus on their productivity, so that's low, team morale's low. You're likely to have a higher turnover of staff because a lot of people kind of vote with their feet and leave rather than staying and facing that kind of an environment, or fighting a battle that they probably think is inevitable, that it won't, that they won't win. So there's loads of costs around that when it comes to recruitment, when it comes to loss of productivity, when it comes to managers, people in the team having to use a lot of their time dealing with conflict or reports or absenteeism, presenteeism. And I think most organizations aren't able to quantify that, so it's not always seen until the point at which it becomes, an employment tribunal case or a settlement figure. But there's definitely costs stacking up all the time on the road to that point as well. So I think, like many things, short-termism or or lack of capacity and investment can lead to culture change initiatives failing. So often the people leading them are in voluntary roles or roles with lots of other responsibilities, and they're trying to instigate initiatives, keep momentum going. Sometimes those roles have high turnover, or because of how long it takes to start implementing things alongside all of their other work, the turnover happens whilst the things are still in their early stages. And even if an organization has a really specific role that's focused on culture change, they could be working sometimes in isolation and really struggling to get buy-in from those who need it. Our Shifters report, for example, found that 68% of organizations have no dedicated budget for culture change work. And so we're also expecting all of this to happen for free, at no cost, with no money to put behind any of it. So I think it's really hard to look strategically and to plan long term, involve the needed specialists with that kind of approach, through no fault of their own or any lack of kind of will. So what can be done to rectify this? Well, of course, having senior leadership buy-in, but also involvement at all stages, and modelling a lot of this from that level is important to its success. I think embedding culture change work into all areas of the business as much as you can. So not looking at culture change work as like a kind of siloed project something additional that we do when we can. And ensuring that the day-to-day approach of everyone in the organisation kind of embeds that as much as possible. So it could be through, the things that seem smaller or more like common things that you would want in the workplace. For example, ensuring participation of team members, fostering psychological safety. And when we talk about that, we could mean things like feeling able to speak your mind, feeling able to speak up when you've got an issue that you need to talk about, showing at all levels of management that you really value people's participation and contributions, and putting emphasis on having a supportive environment in the workplace as well as productivity. And of course, challenging harmful behaviour early on, whenever you see it, however it's manifesting, and encouraging a speak up culture. I would say look at this in the whole and not just as a part of compliance with a specific legal requirement or regulatory requirement. So if you look holistically at the culture of your organisation, from recruitment, onboarding, to day-to-day expectations, management, team dynamics, etc., think about whether you're doing everything to kind of instill the cultural values that you want to. Will those values lead to safe, supportive environments for workers in your organisation? Will those values prevent bullying, harassment, discrimination, other forms of harmful behaviour from occurring? I think if you can think with that lens holistically at your organisation at all levels, that's how you can really embed this work, be proactive, and make sure you're not just taking a kind of reactive approach that, as we've said, might be more costly for you in the long term anyway.